Welcome to the first NixOS demo. In this video, I will install NixOS in a VM, Incus VM, but you could do it on your native hardware, or you could use any VM, cloud VM whatsoever. So there will be 5 steps. The first step is where I would install NixOS, as you can see on the top right of the screen, and then we will set things up. And then, as a last step, I will demonstrate some cool things you could do with NixOS. So by the end of this video, I hope that you get some basic familiarity with NixOS, so that after this, you can continue tweaking the configuration using AI, for example. So that's the goal of the video, to keep it short as well. And personally, I will just use Incus to create my NixOS install. If you're installing it on your machine, you just follow the official NixOS installation method from the USB disk and all that, just like any Linux distro. So the installation process is similar to any Linux distro, but NixOS will create all the configuration in the /etc NixOS directory. So now my VM is created, right? I can actually enter the VM using the incus exec command. You don't need to know about this, but this will basically drop me as a root user. So now I am in the NixOS VM. As you can see, I created this VM with certain limits. That's good for this demo, I think. This is the fresh NixOS install. It has the nix command, which we can use to run anything, and the whole NixOS system's configuration is in the etc NixOS directory. And as you can see, it contains everything, including hardware configuration. In a normal NixOS install, you have the hardware configuration file, which includes all the hardware details. But because this is a VM, we just have this stuff. But the main thing is configuration.nix. This is the file. Let's go there. This is the file which contains, all the NixOS configuration. So as you can see in the VM, it just has some basic things that's specific to my network. The first thing we will do before we even use AI to edit this configuration is to add some packages and then enable Flakes itself, because Flakes is going to be pretty handy soon. So the two things we will do in this configuration, which will be the first demonstration of actually editing it and then activating it, is nix command flag. This is something almost everyone does after they install NixOS. And then environment.system packages is the main setting that people often modify. It's basically like apt-get install on Ubuntu, but because NixOS is declarative, you do everything through the config file. There is no command that you run to install a package. There is no concept of installing it. So what we can do is, let's just add packages. Packages is basically Nix packages, and all the packages are indexed. With will just create the binding in local scope. I am forced to use a nano editor because NeoVim is not installed by default. So let's add that. Let's also add Git, because we will be initializing Git repo. And lazy Git is just a nicer TUI. So now that I have edited my configuration.nix, anytime I edit the configuration.nix, I need to run NixOS reverse switch. So this is the command that takes the Nix configuration and then actually builds the system and then applies it. So if you add a package, it installs the package in the path, and if there's a service, it starts the service through systemd, all that. I'm just going to pause the video until this completes. Okay, so that completed. So we just activated the whole system, so which means that NeoVim, Git, and they're all in path. So that part is done. So great. So now we can move on to actually storing our configuration in a Git repo. Okay, let's use AI for that. From this point, we can just use AI. But this is what I also do as well. The thing to keep in mind is that when you use AI to edit the configuration, it's beneficial to watch the trade of what it does, so we can learn from it. We can also ask AI follow-up questions like, hey, link me to docs which describe this particular syntax or this particular config option. A very good way to learn, basically. Instead of reading a book from cover to cover, we just start from what we want to do. In this case, what we will do is we will create a user. And then, okay, so there it is. And Just Pay AI is the repo which gets you open code pretty fast. All right, cool. So now we can say add a user called the demo with the passwordless sudo access. I'm going with passwordless because it's just easier with the demo for this demo video, so the AI can do all the things. I'm gonna turn off thinking, so it's concise. So as you can see, it edits, and NixOS has the users.users option where you can add users. So all the settings like normal user, you can add the groups there. Everything is declarative. Nothing is specified imperatively. And the pseudo rules as well, as I requested, is this particular structure. Now I can ask it to switch. So I don't even have to run the command. I can just ask the AI to do it, and it's doing it. So let me pause the video again. Okay, it actually finished right after I paused it. So the demo user exists. I'm going to just go back and then log in as the demo user. There it is, right? And now I can do sudo ls. It's not prompting for password. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the system config to my home directory. So now the config belongs to me, which is good, because now I can go and run the same, run my AI client and do the same thing. Oh yeah, the cache is not trusted because it's not trusted, but it's cached. So the second time it ran fast, and there it is. Open code is running, and now I can say initialize git repo and commit our config. So I want to do this before we make further changes. So that's done, great. And because Git will require, so I'm just going to type some, it's users demo, but you can change the username. So that's done, cool. Now, the next thing you want to do is actually add a flake.nix, because what happens is that Nix, so Nix channel.list, and this is all pinned imperatively. It's not reproducible, so anybody can update it using update command, and your configuration report doesn't have any pinned information. So it's important to add the flake.nix. So add a flake.nix. So Nix packages is pinned in flake.log. So that's the first thing we should do with our configuration before we do the cool step, which will be the step 4 and step 5. Let's turn off thinking. And so it knows what to do. It's the flake.nix is just a stub file that calls the configuration.nix file. You don't have to worry about it. It will come in handy when we want to add software and new flake inputs. But there it's doing its thing, and Nix doesn't recognize anything not tracked already in Git, so we have to git add it, which is what the program's doing. And then you can ask it to switch. You want to test that it works. I asked it to switch, and then committed it. That's what JLM latest did. So the switch is now sudo NixOS label switch -- flake. You can just say dot. I don't know why it's going full path, but if you just say -- flake dot, it will use the current flakes plus the host name. But in our case, the host name, for some reason, it's called Nix demo, so it needs to specify manually. We can also create a make file and whatnot. So that's done, and it's committed, I think. Oh yeah, it's still doing it. So let me wait until it finishes. Okay, so that's done. So now we can move on to doing the cool things, right? So let's see what we do. We can just do add home manager support. I can just, copy this prompt. Because Home Manager provides a lot of interesting modules that are not in NixOS. And the other reason for using Home Manager is that you can take the same file, home.nix, and then use it on macOS as well. And we will just do a couple of things to demonstrate before moving on to the other, the last step. So home manager, again, you can always learn from doing, see, this is another reason for creating flake.nix is that all the inputs are pinned, including the home manager one added. And we just try to create new Nix files, which will be editing. We won't be editing flake.nix very often. So everything goes in home.nix, and home.nix will also work on macOS if we don't use Linux specific things. So this is the basic thing. And it's all done. And he didn't really switch, but that's fine. Enable Starship with bash integration because we use bash. Starship provides a nice prompt. So let's do that. And there it is making the edit. It's done. The bash shell is also enabled. This means that we could configure our local bash RC in Nix itself. So you can look in Home Manager options for all the available options. The last thing we will do in Home Manager is enable the Git module, moving our current imperative.files to it. So because the first time we ran Git, it created this .git config. I think we can see it here. .config. Where is it? I think it's okay. I think it created it in root, I guess. Oh, repo local. That's why it didn't work. Okay. So it got added here. Yeah, the name, email. This is what we want to import. Okay. So programs.get enable username. So there it is. It's added. And now we can actually try logging back in as the user. See if the Starship prompt. Oh, that's because we didn't activate. So let's do that actually. I think it was called Nix demo, the name of the configuration. Yeah, I forgot to ask open code to activate it. So let's do it. And it's done. So now we can log out and then log back in. And there it is. So this is the Starship prompt. The other thing let's see what changes it made. So there we go. So all the programs.get and Starship is the one that's responsible for this prompt, which changes. You go to home directory, there's no git prompt. And there we go. So I'm going to commit all the current changes before moving on to the last step, because the video is running long. We'll just demonstrate. Okay, add Olama service and pull a small model demonstrating chat. So NixOS has a bunch of services and packages, more packages than Homebrew, in fact. And I chose Olama to demonstrate to run the local AI model. So as you can see, because NixOS config is declarative, we don't run commands. It's like a nested YAML file, basically. You just say services dot whatever the name of the service and then enable it. And every service has its own settings. So now it's AI is switching it, which is cool. And Olama service is running. So that's a systemd service. And here it's using a command to pull it. Normally we would also run it by hand. So I'll just wait for it to finish. Okay, so that's done. Now I can try running the model. Hi, what is Nix? So this chat, and it's running locally in the Quen model. It's responding below because Olama is running as a service. And you can see here sudo. There it is. So all from this particular change. Services.olama.enable equal to true. That's it. And we get everything for free. So that's Olama. And likewise, we can do any other service like add Nginx with hello world response, open firewall as well. So this way you can access it from outside the VM as well. Firewall is enabled by default, so there is the whole. Oh, okay. The first time we'll be adding firewall. So here it's using, again, services.nginx and all the specific options. Nginx has virtual host and, of course, open firewall, which is a common option for many services. And here it's just trying to build, there's no open firewall for Nginx. So in that case, we just use the global networking.firewall, where we actually specify all the whitelist. Now, once this is done, I suppose curl on localhost should basically work. There it is, hello world, HTML. And this is again a very, very simple change. Services.nginx, that's what it takes to add Nginx. Then one last thing I will also demonstrate is you can also run any package from NixRun. You don't have to install it. Before installing it, you can try it by using NixRun, Nix packages, or you can say NixRun GitHub:/Namaya3 if you want to run Namaya3, for example. One more thing I will demonstrate is how to run containers. NixOS has something called declarative containers, where you actually specify the NixOS configuration for the containers themselves recursively in the NixOS config. So what I'm going to do is I want to run Olama in a container, not just in the host, in the Incus VM host. So I'm going to ask it to move Olama to a declarative NixOS container, then demonstrate that it works through curl from here. So this allows you to declare containers themselves in the same configuration.nix file. And there it is. So the containers option is the one that's responsible for creating containers. And you declaratively configure the containers, giving all the options, including port forwarding. And inside the container, there's a config, which will be a whole NixOS config. So this is an entire NixOS configuration just for that container. And when you run NixOS rebuild switch, it actually starts the container automatically. And there is a sudo NixOS container command that can be used to inspect the container as well. I think the list command, there it is. So the container got created and it's running. And here it will be now to run some command in a container, you just use sudo NixOS container run or the container name followed by the command. So that's what it's running here to pull the Qwen model. It's pulling it inside the container. DNS isn't working, so it's setting the name servers automatically in our NixOS config, and then trying again. First, it's switching. Of course, anytime we change the configuration, we want to activate that using the switch command, NixOS rebuild switch. And that's done. So now it's running the command inside the container using sudo NixOS container run. And there it's well, let's see if it works. I had to skip some more networking changes it made. Okay, after some networking debugging, it worked. And here it pulled the Olama model inside the container, and we are just doing a curl from the host because we had port forwarding, and now it works. So here is using Olama API to actually generate a chat prompt response. The first time I ran this demo, it actually worked, but this time there are some networking issues, so I'm just going to skip directly to running the curl inside the container. So there it is. Inside the container, we can actually use the Olama API, but there are some networking issues on my host. Normally, you should be able to port forward and use it. So that's the Olama demo. So we installed NixOS, we added Olama as a service on NixOS itself, then we removed it, and then we created a container declaratively, and then we added Olama inside that. We pulled the model inside that, and then we ran the chat client against that API. So the one final step of the demo is how do we add external apps to our NixOS configuration, something that's not in Nix packages. So take Kolu, for example. Kolu actually provides a Nix package. Also, it provides a home manager module. So we can actually do it by asking the model to do it directly. So install Kolu via home manager, and the README actually documents it. So I'm just going to paste the link in it. So the model will actually read the GitHub README, the example in the README, which actually contains the home manager docs. And then I will just let it do it here. And this is how you do it. This is another benefit of having flake.nix is that you can add more software in the inputs, in this case, the code repo, and that gets passed into the function. And then we just, add it here. So it's a learning experience just watching the agent do it. And this is straight from the README in Kolu. And then it's doing a switch to make sure it works. So it added to home.nix, which is nice. So if you use this on Mac, it will work there as well. Because on NixOS, it uses a systemd user daemons, but on Mac, it uses launchctl automatically. That's what the home manager, I believe I added support for it, but you have to explicitly add support for launchctl for every service. It's fairly easy to add it because the interface is the same, services.kolu. And when running a local systemd service, we need to enable something called, I forgot the name of that. Oh, lingering, yeah. So we need to enable lingering, so that's what the agent is doing. Because Kolu is running as a user-level systemd service, and if you're not SSH'd in, it wouldn't start unless you enable linger. So login.ctl, it does it automatically. And there it is. So Kolu is installed and running. So now you can curl. There it is. I can open it in the browser, set up port forwarding, and look at the status using systemctl user. Wait. Oh, wait. Huh? I thought this is the right. Okay, let's see what it does. User status. That's what I ran. Okay, something to do with the incus environment variable. But anyway, Kolu is running, so that's what it takes to modify our NixOS configuration using AI, trying different things. Let me ask, before I wrap up, let me ask the AI, show me links to some useful NixOS docs, services, packages, etc. So after this, you can use so NixOS has the options search, this link, which allows us to search for all the services that are available. If you want to install Tailscale, go to this link and then search for Tailscale. It shows all the options that you can use. And then there is also package search. If you want to search for packages, show me NixOS MCP server. There is also an MCP server, by the way, that you can set up in your AI agent. And so the Nix community, they moved to, actually that URL is wrong. But if you just search for NixOS MCP, it goes to this particular repo. So that's the repo. You can set it up. It automatically searches those options, so it knows what to set up. So that's the basic NixOS demo. Let me know how you found it. What else can be done to improve for the subsequent videos. I do plan to record more videos like this. Cheers.